Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa, the main and only channel on YouTube talking about interiorism and how to apply it to your life for living free. We are back with major programming coming up between now and New Year's, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to go into 2025 very strong. We're going to have programming for the New Year's, how to start out the year strong. I'm not sure if we're going to do a live stream, but that may be on the list if a lot of you say that you want to do a live stream and we'll come and participate in the live stream. We can enter into 2025 very strong. If you're watching this, 2025 is going to be the best year of your life. It's going to be the year that you finally get free. It's going to be the year that all of this clicks for you. And I want to facilitate making that happen here on this channel. So just to return briefly to the series that we've been having for the past few weeks about interiorism, and mainly about practical interiorism. And today I just wanted to talk about the main key of interiorism, how to actually apply outer intention. And we talked about in other videos, and if you've ever read any of the works of Vadim Zeland, who wrote about reality transurfing, he talks about the two levels of intention, which are inner and outer intention. You see, inner intention is trying to go in and change the world physically. That's Newtonian physics. And that's the intentional wavelength that the majority of the world's on. It's what the majority of the business world is on. It's what the majority of our political world is on. It's what the majority of the education system is upon. And you can see the problems that is created for us in humanity. It's, I have to go and do it. This is also called by me. And again, it's a lot better than a victim mentality of to me, that everything's happening to me. When you take it into your own hands and you try to achieve it, but you can only go so far with inner intention. You can't build a very huge business with inner intention because there are so many moving parts that at some point you have to give up some part of that. That's elementary delegation. So the second aspect that Vadim Zeland talks about is outer intention. And that is basically, Joe Dispenza talks about it this way. And this is not duality, by the way. This is not dualism because, again, we talk about different levels of being and levels of creation. All of this applies when you're on the level of the simulation. When you're outside of the simulation, no intention is necessary anyway, because the moment of the intention, you have it and you are it. So by having that very intention, you've already created what you want to come about. If you can persist in that, then all of this stuff about outer intention happens automatically in the field of where we're operating in the simulation. I hope you understand this just a little bit, but you'll have to excuse me. I am suffering from a small sinus infection. Of course, that is curing very rapidly. It already is cured on the oneness. The effects of that are healing very rapidly, but I may be a little bit stuffy during the course of this video, so I apologize about that. So, outer intention is the way that the Egyptians built the pyramids, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think they really got thousands or millions of slaves to pick up these blocks that couldn't even be cut by modern machinery? Modern machinists and engineers still don't know how these rocks were cut, and then taken across great distances. I don't think it happened. I think the Egyptians mastered outer intention. And Vadim Zeland defines this, again, as Joe Dispenza defines it, syncing your will with the divine will. Of course, your will is the divine will. So, Javier, why are you dividing them up? I divide them due to convenience, because once we're in the simulation, our mind figuratively is divided into two. Of course, the left brain and the right brain. It's divided into the subconscious or unconscious, which is what makes everything happen, and the conscious mind, which basically can point and can logically deduce things, but has no creativity. When you're in outer intention, you're tapping into that creative mind. You're tapping into that right brain. So I haven't seen a concise instruction manual for how to do this, guys. And that's the question that this video is aiming to at least introduce solutions to. But again, this is a very tricky subject because, like any skill, this is a skill, working with outer intention. Like any skill, this requires practice, and you can't just listen to a lecture about it or read about it. You have to actually do it. So what I want to do is basically lay the ground rules, and this is going to solve so many questions for you, for many of you who've been asking me and other teachers, how do I do this? Am I doing this right? Should I imagine 3 times a day? And so on and so forth. So, the main process of interiorism is this: getting into state. In order to get what you want, you have to get into vibrational resonance with it, which means you have to get into the state of what you want, psychologically, interiorly first, and then, of course, law of attraction applies. You will attract that to you. Or if you want to use the law of assumption paradigm or model, you keep assuming that until you realize it. It's all the same, ladies and gentlemen, just different language, different levels. So how do I do this? And I've given the example. It's very simple to explain. It's not as simple to do it because, of course, like any skill, as we said, there's a learning curve. You have to go do it. I can't do it for you. Now, I do coaching, and I've helped many clients figure out their way of doing this, figure out the dance, so to speak. But again, you have to work it, guys. If you don't work it, it doesn't happen. And that's where Neville Goddard was very correct, where he says, you are the operant power. You're the one who has to work this and operate it. So, let's say you want a house. Now, and you want to do this completely with outer intention. Now, you can always do it with outer intention and then mix it with inner intention and then try to take steps. And that's all great and fine. It works for a lot of things. But at some point, you've got to show yourself the true interiorist way of getting something, which is getting it without lifting a finger. And I have very many interesting experiments that I've done over the last few weeks even that we're going to share very soon, where I'll show you how this is done and what factors I tested for, what control factors I used, and so on and so forth. It's coming out in more videos. Stay tuned for those. But let's say you want a house. How do you get into the state of that? You could imagine the house. You could imagine yourself inside the house. But remember, and many of the law of assumption teachers and law of attraction teachers are right when they talk about this. If you put in an order with the universe, you need to be specific. And that's not because the universe is dumb. That's because you are the universe. And every vibration that you have, whether conscious or subconscious, is going to feed in to that ultimate manifestation. So you may say, I want a house, and not give a lot of details, and then you may indeed get a house, but it may be in a poor neighborhood. Now, this is working on the level of the manifested, working on the level of creation of the simulation. You can avoid and bypass this problem altogether by going immediately into oneness. You want a house, so now you imagine your house, you imagine yourself in it. And this is why manifesting does not take time, because it's outside of time and space. But indeed, on the physical plane, in the simulation, it does take time, because you're still figuring out what you want. You're still figuring out what you prefer about it. And by the way, this is an eternal process, which is why the major secret is, if you don't understand it, just leave it and contemplate on it. You will understand it soon. Secret is there is no manifestation. Why? Because there's no ultimate point where you can say, oh, this is finished. Now you could, but the point is your manifestations are already evolving. So if you want a red Corvette and you get a blue Corvette, many of you will get upset and say, well, I wanted a red one. Why did I get a blue one? Well, I forgot to tell the universe I wanted a red one. But no. That blue Corvette, as you can choose to see it, and as it is in the ultimate, is a step on your path to getting a red Corvette. Maybe then you have it painted red. Or maybe you go trade it in for a red one. You understand what I'm saying? So you don't really have to worry about this detail stuff, but you do want to, in the process of your visualizations, see what actually you prefer. And it's always good to gather information on the outer to the extent that you have tools to decide exactly what it is you want. The point here is Neville Goddard said, the more detailed you are in it, the easier it will come to you because you have all those details. I hope you understand me just a little bit. Even if you don't have all the details, it'll still come to you, but it'll be more of a process. And of course, many people have fun in that process. I remember reading about Nikola Tesla. And Tesla was an inventor who imagined literally any device he was making. He imagined it, and he saw the kinks, and he got all of the kinks out of it, and he waited till he had a perfect design in his imagination that he understood as many of the angles and concepts of as possible before he then took steps to have that manifest on the outer, to have it drawn up or whatnot. This is a very good way of doing things. Honestly, it's not the way I do things all the time. It's not the way many manifestors do things. An easier and more intuitive way of doing it is just say I want a house. So now I imagine a house. And then I have aspects of that house show themselves to me, whether in imagination or whether in the physical world I see some houses or whatnot, and then I refine that. And you can just see yourself as always refining and enjoy the process. But what ties many people up in this process, what hangs people up, is the fact that, it's taking too long because I'm having to refine it. You must learn to enjoy the journey, and paradoxically, as you enjoy that journey, it's going to be a shorter journey. So just keep reverting to the state of what it is you want. And now I've said this in many videos. The state is not an imagination, a picture. It could be part of it. It is not speech, and that could be part of it because that is all goes into the robotic affirmations and so on and so forth. Narrative. It is not feeling, but that's all part of it. It's the whole context. We used to have this term in our channel in the early days, in interiorism, called context. And context is the whole summation of points that surround you when you're in the state of what you want. And that's ever changing. Like right now, let's say a person's a millionaire, right? His bank account's constantly changing. There's interest being deposited into it. He's taking out payments. Things around him are changing. But there is a sort of arrangement of changing circumstances that could be seen as semi-static and can be called context. Hope you understand me just a little bit. So let's say you want that house. You need to do whatever it is that helps you to get into the feeling of that already being completed. So you can imagine your house, but you want to own the house. You don't want to rent it. So you can, while you're imagining it, you can use some self-talk like, thank God I now own this house and I'm walking through this house that I own. This house has 2 stories, and you can actually look at the 2 stories. And then you feel that. You feel yourself going up the stairs. You feel the sensation of having that. You understand? So you're using all of your interior tools. Imagining, you're using self-talk, you're using feeling in that whole context to sort of snap that into place for you. And you'll know it works when you feel the actual experience of having that. Now, when you open your eyes, you may deviate from that, and that's fine too, because those are just changing thoughts and feelings. But just go back to that feeling. And as the days pass, when you get better at this context, you will start just being able to snap into the feeling, and you won't need any more imaginal pictures. You may just do that for fun. So I hope you understand me just a little bit. We're going to be making more videos about this, about the central tenet and practice of interiorism, which is basically talking yourself, imagining yourself, feeling yourself into the state of that. And I promise you, once you do that, it's yours. So we're going to be having a lot more videos about how to make 2025 the best year you've ever had. I promise you, if you're watching this, you continue following the series, we will have the best year we've ever had. If you want to have a live stream on New Year's, please do mention it in the comments. Otherwise, we will just make some good videos on that day, and we are going to make 2025 the best years of our life. Till very soon, guys. This is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa, wishing you a very lovely night and great weekend.